Welcome back to Under Baobab Skies. The morning over the Mossi Plateau begins in silence, that sacred, waiting hush before the first rooster cries. In the dim blue of dawn, the air smells of dust and millet, of smoke and iron. Somewhere, far off, a hammer strikes, slow and deliberate, as though the land itself is waking heartbeat by heartbeat. Here, in the heart of Burkina Faso, where the soil glows red beneath the sun, the blacksmith's forge is more than a workplace. It is a shrine, a place where earth meets fire and where men whisper to the unseen. To the Mossi people, the blacksmith is no mere laborer. He is both craftsman and priest, shaping the world one breath of flame at a time. The fire crackles gently as the night breathes around us. Before the iron bends, it listens. Before it glows, it remembers. And in that remembering lies the story of a people love calloused hands and sacred duties, of families whose names are never shouted but always known, long before the borders of Burkina Faso were drawn. The Mossi kingdoms flourished on these lands, kingdoms like Ouagadougou, Yatenga, and Tenkodogo. Their power didn't rest only in soldiers or chiefs, but in those who forged the tools of both life and death. It was the blacksmith who made the hoe that tilled the fields, the spear that defended the clan, and the bracelet that sealed an oath. Every spark that flew from his hammer was a prayer, every tool a line in the poem of survival. To touch iron was to touch the bones of the earth. To heat it was to speak to the ancestors, and to shape it was to risk offending the spirits who guarded its mystery. That is why, even today, the Mossi speak of blacksmiths with both awe and unease. They are seen as chosen, but also apart, living on the edge of villages, never entirely of the world they serve. Some call them keepers of fire. Others whisper they are too close to the divine. It is said that in every Mossi forge there lives a spirit, an ancient presence that watches over the work. Before striking the first blow of the day, the smith offers a small libation, a pour of millet beer, a murmur of gratitude, a promise that today's creation will not dishonor those who came before. Each spark that flies is a conversation with that spirit, a bright word in a language older than writing. The air hums softly, carrying the rhythm of 1,000 generations. The Mossi blacksmith's fire was never just about metal. It was about the delicate mastery over nature's most dangerous elements. Fire can nourish or destroy. Iron can harvest or kill. And so, in shaping both, the smith held a moral weight unmatched in his community. In the cool evenings, when his work was done, he'd sit outside his forge, watching the horizon fade. The children played around him, their laughter mixing with the chirping of crickets. Sometimes one would wander close, peering at the cooled tools beside the hearth, the curved blades, the slender knives, the farming hoes glinting faintly in the fading light. The smith would smile and say softly, "Fire remembers who commands it." The children would nod, though they did not yet understand. Over time, as kingdoms rose and fell, the blacksmith's presence endured. When kings needed weapons, they sent for him. When a farmer's hoe broke before the planting season, they turned to him. When someone fell ill from curses or misfortune, it was often the blacksmith who was called to fashion the amulet that would protect them. To be a Mossi blacksmith was to live in the rhythm of both hammer and heartbeat, to know that every strike against the anvil was a dialogue with destiny. The night deepens, the fire hums, and the stars look down in silent witness. This story you are about to hear is not just about the making of iron, it is about the making of meaning. It is about how heat, dust, and belief intertwine to shape a civilization. It is about men who could call lightning from stone and give form to faith through flame. And as we journey deeper into the world of the Mossi blacksmiths, you will see how their work, half craft, half prayer beg, came the hidden foundation of an entire people's endurance. Their forges glowed long after battles ended. Their songs outlasted kings, and their legacy, even now, lingers in the rhythm of modern Burkina Faso, in the echo of hammer against anvil, in the dust rising like incense toward a patient sky. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you find value and beauty in these stories, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you won't miss what's next. You are now under baobab skies, and the story begins now. By the end of today's story, you'll understand what it took to be a Mossi blacksmith. The world is still half asleep when the first sigh of wind moves through the thatched eaves of the blacksmith's hut. The horizon blushes faintly, as if the sky itself were remembering the color of molten iron. Inside this humble dwelling, a single ember glows in the pre-dawn darkness, small, potent sun waiting to rise. The man who tends it is older than his years suggest. His shoulders are built from decades of swinging the hammer, his eyes trained to read the subtle moods of fire. Before he speaks a single word, he listens. He listens to the sleeping village, a gentle rhythm of quiet breaths. He hears the lowing of cattle in their pens and the soft, even breathing of his apprentices, who are curled up on mats by the wall. Then, softly, he clears his throat and begins the morning prayer. It's not a long or elaborate chant, but a simple, rhythmic expression of gratitude. For him, the forge is his altar, and the hammer is his song. He speaks directly to the spirit of the flame, a quiet murmur in the dark. Do not burn in anger. Burn with purpose. The fire crackles in reply, as if acknowledging his request. In the distance, a rooster calls, its voice cutting through the quiet. The day has officially begun. There is a profound poetry in how this man moves, slow, deliberate, almost reverent. Each tool is arranged with care on a mat woven by his wife's hands, the long, slender tongs, the bellows carved from supple goat hide, and the hammer, its wooden handle blackened and smoothed by countless years of grip. The rhythm of his work begins long before the first strike. It lives in the steady, measured way he breathes. He presses his palms together once more, touches the cool earth with his fingertips, and then feeds the forge with fresh charcoal. The sound of the bellows fills the hut, a deep, whooshing sound, like the very heartbeat of the village, slowly awakening from its slumber. Outside, the first signs of life stir. Children yawn as they amble towards the cattle pens. Women begin to stir millet in large clay pots, their movements practiced and unhurried. The smoke from 100 small cooking fires joins together in the cool morning air, curling into the shape of a single, collective morning. But it is here, by the blacksmith's open door, that the village's day truly finds its anchor. Every hoe that will till the fields, every spearhead for the hunt, and every cooking knife used to prepare the evening meal starts with this first breath of intense, controlled heat. This blacksmith is far more than just a craftsman. He is a mediator, a bridge between the raw, untamed power of nature and the focused will of his community. To shape iron is to enter into a delicate bargain with creation itself. If you apply too much heat, the metal becomes brittle and breaks. With too little, it remains stubborn and resists. And in that precise, fleeting balance lives the ancient wisdom that has been passed down from father to son, from ancestor to apprentice, through generations immemorial. The knowledge isn't just in the hands, it's in the soul. Sometimes, the old man will pause, letting the silence of the moment speak louder than the clamor of the hammer. His young apprentice watches him closely, boy of about 15. Bare-chested, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and concentration. The master takes a rough, heavy lump of iron ore and places it in the boy's hand. "Feel it," he says, his voice low and raspy. "It's heavy now because it has no purpose. We are the ones who give it one." The boy nods, his brow furrowed in thought, though he doesn't yet fully grasp the depth of the lesson. He watches as the master sprinkles a pinch of fine ash over the forger's small. Sacred gesture he learned from the elders who came before him. "For the spirits of the ancestors," he murmurs, honoring the chain of knowledge. Then, in a single, fluid motion, he raises his hammer high and strikes. The spark that leaps from the impact seems a liver, brilliant flash of light born in the space between man and metal. The very first sound of hammer-striking anvil echoes across the plain. A clear, ringing note that blends with the morning birdsong. It is not noise, it is a declaration. The village now knows the work has begun and the day has truly started. As the heat inside the forge grows, so does the blacksmith's focus. Sweat begins to run in rivulets down his back, but he doesn't wipe it away. His eyes are locked on the glowing metal, watching its color shift from a deep, dark red to a bright, vibrant orange, and then from orange to a brilliant, almost blinding white. There is a precise moment, a brief, suspended heartbeat when the iron becomes almost liquid, pliant and obedient to his will. That is the moment he shapes it. Not a second before, not a second after. Around him, the small hut feels like the inside of a drum, alive with the pulsating rhythm of heat and labor. The apprentice works the bellows with a steady, powerful rhythm. The air rushes in, feeding the insatiable hunger of the forge. They work without words now, their movements synchronized by instinct and shared breath. The air grows thick with the sharp, earthy smell of burning charcoal. The forge hums, a low, resonant sound, like a spirit alive and breathing in the confined space. In that intense, glowing light, every single motion carries a profound meaning. The arc of the arm's swing, the subtle turn of the wrist, the precise placement of the hammer's edge. If you were to look closely, you would see that he is not just shaping a piece of iron, he is shaping patience. He is shaping discipline. He is shaping the unseen thread that ties a man to his ancestors and to the future of his village. And so, as the dawn slowly ripens into full morning, the blacksmith lifts his latest creation from the anvil, a blade, faintly curved, its surface still radiating warmth, still seeming to breathe. He sets it aside carefully on the earthen floor to cool, and his eyes, for just a moment, are soft with a quiet, humble pride. He turns to his apprentice, who has been watching, mesmerized. The fire never forgets, he whispers. Treat it kindly, and it will teach you how to endure. The boy nods again. But this time, a flicker of understanding shines in his eyes. He is beginning to see. Outside, the first traders begin to pass by, their donkeys laden with baskets of millet and stacks of clay pots. The village now hums with the busy activities of life, and from the open door of the forge drifts a steady, reassuring music, the rhythm of hammer, bellows, ember, and breath. Let's pause here for just a moment. The fire crackles gently, settling into a low, steady burn as the morning stretches wide and bright across the land. Somewhere nearby, a bird sings its song, its cheerful notes rising above the rhythmic clang of the forge. The old blacksmith looks up, a faint smile touching his lips, and then he returns to his work. Because in his hands, with every strike of the hammer, the dawn is still being forged. The sun has now climbed above the acacia trees, painting the world in a wash of gold and dust. Here, inside the forge, time seems to slow down, to deepen. It's not measured by the ticking of a clock, but by sound. The steady heartbeat like rhythm of a hammer striking metal. Temp's pause. Temp's each strike feels like a conversation, a dialogue with generations of ancestors who came before. The Mossi blacksmith knows this pattern not by thought, but by feel. He has stood at this anvil since he was a boy. The rhythm is etched into his very bones. The anvil itself, pitted and dark with the passage of years, responds like a drum, sending its vibrations deep into the earth. Sometimes, the children playing outside will pause their games just to listen. To them, it's a kind of music, a song that tells them life is continuing, that essential tools are being born, that the work itself is sacred. Now, the apprentice joins the chorus. His hammer is lighter, his rhythm less sure, more hesitant. The master blacksmith nods, guiding him not with words, but with small, almost imperceptible gestures. A subtle flick of the wrist, a quiet tap of his foot against the packed earth floor. "Don't fight the metal," he says, his words punctuated by his own breaths, his own exertion. Persuade it. The air is thick with the smells of smoke and sweat, and something else. ... The scent of molten patience. Each repetition of the hammer is like a prayer of endurance. The blacksmith's forearms gleam with effort, the tendons moving like thick ropes under his skin. He takes the glowing iron and cools it in a clay trough filled with water. Steam erupts, rising like spirits ascending from the metal. The hiss is sharp and sudden, a sigh of transformation. Then he lifts the piece again, ready for the next fold. Fold, strike, turn. Fold, strike, turn. It's a ritual older than memory itself. As the morning heat grows, the forge seems to hum with a greater intensity. Faintly, from outside, you can hear the sounds of the market beginning to stir, the lively chatter of women bargaining for grain, the distant bleating of goats, the slow, familiar creak of wooden carts. But in here, inside the world of the smithy, those sounds feel a world away. This is a place made of rhythm and flame, a place where conscious thought burns away until only the pure essence of craft remains. Every single blow must land true. The slightest hesitation can ruin the grain of the metal, wasting hours of work. The master's gaze is firm, focused, yet it holds a deep kindness. The hammer, he tells the boy, is not just about strength, it is about timing. Strength without timing only breaks things. But timing without strength is just an echo. The boy listens, his brow furrowed in concentration. Sweat streaks his temples, and his young arms tremble with the strain. Yet he does not stop, he continues to strike. In this powerful rhythm of forging lies the collective memory of survival. Each spark that flies from the anvil recalls a history storms that were survived, essential tools that were repaired, harvests that were saved from ruin. The blacksmith's craft feeds the village in countless quiet ways. It's in the plough that tills the field, the sturdy knife that cuts the yam, and the sharp spear that guards the herd from predators. His work is the silent backbone of the community. And yet, for all its necessity, the blacksmith's trade is shrouded in mystery. The people of the village speak of the smiths as the keepers of a secret fire, individuals who walk a fine line, a little too close to the act of divine creation. Some fear them, just a little. Others revere them. And in a way, both are right, because in shaping raw iron, one trespasses upon the territory of God's pulling form out of chaos, binding human will into solid metal. The master blacksmith understands this delicate balance. He has learned a profound humility before the power of the flame. He never boasts about his skill, and he never rushes his work. Each fall of the hammer is a reminder. The power he wields is not his own, but something borrowed from a source far greater. His gaze flickers for a moment to a small charm tied to the forge's wooden frame, a single cowrie shell wrapped in worn leather. It was his father's, and his father's before that. A link in a long, unbroken chain. He reaches out and touches it briefly, a silent acknowledgement, before turning his full attention back to the glowing metal. The rhythm continues, unwavering, temps. T-A-N-G. Hiss. Let's pause for a moment and just watch. The forge glows fiercely, breathing like a living creature in the dim light. The boy's arm aches a deep burn of exhaustion, but his heart feels strangely lighter. He is finding his place in the ancient rhythm. The blacksmith allows a slight smile to touch his lips, that quiet, knowing smile of a man who understands that true craft isn't about what you make, but what you become while you are making it. Outside, the cicadas begin their shrill, pulsing song, a sign that the day has ripened into the full heat of afternoon. And through it all, the sound of the anvil continues, steady and ancient, as if it were the earth itself, hammering out its own heartbeat. Because here, under the African sun, where raw iron meets human intention, life itself is forged. By midday, the forge sleeps. The intense heat of the morning's labor surrenders to a quiet warmth. The fire, which had roared and consumed, is now left to breathe gently under a blanket of its own ash. For the blacksmith, the rhythm of his work is about to change. His tools, the hammers, the tongs, the chisels begin to cool on their racks, but his mind remains hot, fired with purpose. The anvil's powerful, ringing song, the soundtrack of his morning, fades behind him as he steps out from the shadowed workshop into the brilliant, unfiltered brightness of the day. Strapped to his back is a bundle carrying the fruits of his labor, iron transformed. There are hoes, their blades curved and sharp, ready to break the earth. There are knives, practical and connected. There are bracelets, polished to a dull shine, and spearheads that glint in the sunlight like tiny, captured suns. Each piece carries the mark of his hands, the echo of the hammer. For the Mossi blacksmith, the market is his second forge. It's another arena of transformation. There, under awnings of woven grass and amidst a sea of people, he will hammer not iron, but words. He will shape bargains, softening the resistance of a tough customer, testing the value of his work with a merchant's sharp intuition. The physical labor of the forge is done. The social labor of the marketplace is about to begin. The road to the market is a familiar path, winding between fields of millet that sway like a green ocean in the afternoon breeze. The stark, ancient silhouettes of baobab trees stand as silent witnesses to countless journeys just like this one. He walks beside his donkey, a steady and patient companion. The load of finished goods shifts with each rhythmic step, a familiar weight against his back. His body, accustomed to long travel, is relaxed, falling into the steady cadence of the journey. In the distance, a plume of dust rises against the vast, blue sky, sure sign that others are already on their way. He is part of a larger movement, a convergence of lives. Weavers with their colorful textiles, potters with their fragile earthenware, salt traders who have traveled for weeks, and storytellers carrying tales as precious as any physical good. The market is not just a place. It's a moving world of its own, the shared heartbeat of villages scattered across the wide, sun-drenched savannah. As he gets closer, he sees children playing by the roadside. They pause their games to wave as he passes, their smiles bright and fleeting. It's a small, simple gesture, but it's part of the fabric of his world, a reminder of the community he serves and belongs to. He arrives at the edge of the gathering, and the world transforms. The quiet rhythm of the road is replaced by an explosion of sensory information. The very air trembles with human sound, a symphony of bargaining voices rising and falling. Sudden bursts of laughter, the insistent bleat of goats tied to posts, and the clatter of calabashes being stacked and sold. The scent of roasted groundnuts, warm and nutty, mingles with the sharp, clean tent of newly forged metal, the smell of his own craft. He finds his usual spot and carefully lays out his wares upon a simple reed mat. The afternoon sunlight catches each piece, revealing the intricate texture of his work, the subtle, deliberate twist of a blade's handle, the polished, smooth curve of an ornamental bracelet. His display is a testament to his skill, a silent invitation. Soon, people begin to stop. Women, their hands knowledgeable and sure, pause to touch the metal, to test the weight and balance of a tool. Farmers, their eyes narrowed in concentration, come to inspect the sharp edges of his hoes, judging their durability for the hard work ahead. A young man, on the cusp of adulthood, eyes a particular knife. Perhaps one meant for his initiation feast, a tool that will mark his transition into a new stage of life. Every exchange that takes place on this mat carries a small story. It's a dance of negotiation, a test of value and need. Here, a handful of precious grain is traded for a sturdy blade. There, a bundle of dried fish, a vital source of protein, is bartered for a set of bracelets. These transactions are rarely just about money. Often, they are built on relationships forged over years. Sometimes, if trust has already been deeply established between the blacksmith and a customer, only a promise changes hands, a commitment to pay later when the harvest comes in or when other goods are sold. The blacksmith smiles, his face open and confident. He knows the promise will return, just as fire always returns to the forge with a breath of air. This is not mere trade. It is something more profound. It is survival braided with faith, a network of interdependence that holds the community together. Let's just pause here for a moment and soak in this scene. The afternoon hums around him, a lazy, vibrant energy. Flies buzz lazily over a patch of spilled sorghum beer. Somewhere in the bustling crowd, a drummer begins to test his talking drum. Its rhythmic patterns curl into the air, a percussive language that speaks across the noise, like a beckoning spirit calling the community to listen. The blacksmith takes a moment for himself. He sips cool water from a gourd, his eyes scanning the crowd, watching the sun begin its slow shift toward evening. In this quiet moment, his thoughts drift to his ancestors. He thinks of the generations of blacksmiths who came before him, those who traveled even longer, more arduous roads. They journeyed across vast distances, exchanging their iron material of immense power and value for salt from the northern deserts, for fine cloth from distant cities, and for stories from every person they met. They were not just craftsmen. They were explorers, diplomats, and conduits of culture. They taught him a fundamental truth. A tool's worth lies not only in its sharp edge or its durability, but in its story. Who made it? Who has wielded it? What has it seen? Each piece of iron is a vessel of history. As dusk begins its slow, beautiful descent, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, the blacksmith prepares to leave. He gathers what remains of his wares. A few blades are left unsold. Some trinkets have been bartered away. Tucked safely in his pouch is the grain that will feed his family for the coming week. He ties the bundle once more, his hands moving with practiced efficiency, checking each knot with quiet, meticulous care. The day's work is almost done. The journey home begins as the first bats take to the sky, their dark forms flitting silently against the fading light. The road back always feels longer, but somehow gentler. His own shadow stretches out before him on the path, a long, silent companion walking beside him. He begins to hum a tune, a song his father used to sing when returning from trade. It's a melody that perfectly blends gratitude for a successful day with the bone-deep fatigue of honest labor. As he reaches the edge of his village, he sees the first signs of home. Smoke curls from the cooking fires of each compound, rising into the cool evening air. The scent of evening meals fills him with a sense of peace. Before he even reaches his own doorway, children run to meet him, their eyes bright with anticipation in the dim light. "What did you bring?" they ask, their voices a happy chorus. He laughs softly, the weariness of the day melting away. He lifts one small child onto his strong shoulders. "Iron for your mother's new hoe," he says, his voice warm, "and a story for you. Because each journey to the market is so much more than commerce. It is the steady, repeating rhythm that keeps life turning. It is the invisible thread that connects survival with dignity, craft with community, the past with the future." Let's pause one last time. The night has fully settled over the village. The forge, his partner in creation, whispers softly in its sleep, its embers glowing faintly. Tomorrow, the sun will rise, the hammer will rise once more, and the powerful rhythm will begin again. It is the unending conversation between man, metal, and meaning. For in trading his craft, the blacksmith trades a part of his spirit. He is shaping not only iron, but the very continuity of his people, ensuring their story is forged, traded, and told day after day. In the hush before dawn, long before the first rooster crows, a solitary figure moves through the quiet, mossy village. It is the blacksmith, and with each step toward his forge, he feels not just the cool earth beneath his feet, but the weight of centuries. The embers from yesterday's labor have cooled to a soft, sleeping gray. Yet within them lingers a warmth that is more than just residual heat. It's the warmth of memory, the palpable presence of ancestors who whisper through iron and ash, their stories woven into the very structure of this sacred space. He kneels beside the hearth, a posture of reverence and humility. From a small, weathered gourd, he pours a libation of water onto the coals, the soft hiss a prayer in itself. A handful of millet follows, sprinkled with care, each grain a tiny offering, a token of gratitude. This isn't just a routine, it is a profound and wordless conversation. He gives thanks for the skill passed down through generations, asks for protection throughout the day's demanding work, and extends a humble invitation for the spirits of smiths long departed to walk with him, to guide his hands. To the Mossi blacksmith, fire is never just a tool. It is the living, breathing medium that binds the present to the past, a portal to the world of spirit. He closes his eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply, the sharp, metallic scent of, or mingles with the earthy perfume of charred wood and the faint sweetness of the millet offering. This is the aroma of his craft, the very air of his existence. With a practiced finger, he traces intricate patterns in the fine layer of ash covering the hearth. These are not random doodles. Each line is a symbol of protection, a glyph of power, a map drawn for the unseen guardians who will follow the movement of his hands today. The forge is being consecrated, prepared not just for the physical work of shaping metal, but for the spiritual work of imbuing it with purpose and life. The first hammer strike of the day is not on iron, but on the stone surround of the forger, ceremonial clang that announces his intention to the spirits. It is a signal that the day's sacred work is about to begin. He then lifts a piece of raw iron, feeling its cool, dense weight. Soon, it will glow with the fire's heat, its energy transferring into his palms, as if the metal itself possesses a pulse, a life force waiting to be awakened. With every fold, every quench in the cooling trough, every brilliant shower of sparks, he feels the echo of his ancestors. A particularly bright spark leaps from the coals, dancing in the dim light. He sees it not as a random occurrence, but as a signaler, tiny, fiery spirit acknowledging the sacred union of hand, hammer, and fire that is about to unfold. He begins to murmur softly, his voice a low, rhythmic hum. It's a language older than the village, perhaps older than memory itself. A blend of words, cadence, and breath that is pure invocation. He calls to the spirits of the forge, to the spirit of the iron, and to the ancestors who perfected this craft. The fire seems to respond, its flames flickering and dancing in a way that suggests understanding, a living entity coaxing the stubborn metal into shapes that are more than merely functional. These will not be just tools. They will be vessels of protection, instruments of continuity, tangible links in the great chain of his community. Each piece of iron he works on is given a name, though it is spoken only in the silence of his mind. A blade destined for a farmer, a hoe for a young man coming of age, a spear for a hunter who provides for his family each is imbued with a whisper of life, a silent promise that it will serve its bearer with integrity and respect. The blacksmith understands that he is not just creating an object, he is forging a relationship between the tool and its user, a bond blessed by the spirits of the forge. Let's pause here, in the quiet hum of the workshop. Smoke curls gracefully from the forge, rising into the pale morning sky like a call to the spirits, a signal visible for miles around. Beyond the village, life begins to stir. A goat bleats in a nearby enclosure, and from a distant hut, the faint cry of a child signals the start of a new day. But within these earthen walls, the world contracts. The blacksmith's focus is absolute, his reality defined by the rhythmic trinity of hammer and anvil, fire and breath. His hands are steady, his movements fluid and economical, a dance of creation honed over a lifetime. In this sacred work, preparation is as crucial as the action itself. Before he even begins to shape the glowing iron, the blacksmith circles the forge, his touch light and respectful on each tool. He whispers apologies for any harm the metal might cause in its new life, acknowledging the profound truth that creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin, sharing the same path. A knife can be used to harvest food or to cause injury. A hoe can be used to cultivate life-giving crops or to strike in anger. He prays that his creations will be used only for good. Every movement is deliberate, a continuous dialogue with the unseen guardians who oversee the delicate threshold between craft and spirit. The blacksmith knows the risks. The forge is a place of immense power, and with that power comes great responsibility. One misstepper, careless spark landing on dry thatch, an impure thought entering his mind, a neglected offering to the spirit's good, disturbed the delicate balance he works so hard to maintain. A tool forged with a troubled heart could bring misfortune to its owner. Therefore, his mourning is governed by three unwavering principles: patience, reverence, and humility. His body bends to the task, his bare feet gripping the earth, drawing strength and stability from it. The heavy hammer feels like a natural extension of his arm, an instrument not just of his own will, but of his entire lineage. He is a conduit, a channel for ancestral knowledge and spiritual energy. As the morning deepens and the sun climbs higher, the forge comes fully alive. It is a symphony of sound and light. The roar of the bellows, the sharp hiss of hot metal quenching in water, the rhythmic, ringing song of the hammer striking the anvil each note is essential. Each hammer strike, each fold of the molten iron is accompanied by a heartbeat that is both his own and that of his ancestors. He is not merely shaping metal, he is shaping safety for the hunter, prosperity for the farmer, and the invisible lines of trust that bind his community together. The tools he makes are affirmations of life and continuity. This intricate ritual of offerings, invocations, and attentive care ensures that the spirit of the iron is honored, not dominated. By midday, when the heat is at its most intense, he pauses. He reaches a hand toward the embers, not touching them, but feeling their radiant energy. He whispers once more a quiet word of thanks, knowing that every single spark that has flown from the anvil today has carried his intention, with it a blessing for the tool, a blessing for the family who will use it, and a blessing for the entire village. His work sustains the community not just physically, but spiritually. This is the timeless rhythm of Mossi life, a cycle where fire is revered as a spirit, iron is seen as a vessel for that spirit, and the blacksmith acts as the sacred mediator between the physical and metaphysical worlds. His forge is so much more than a place of warmth and noise. It is the sacred, beating heart of his village, a place where history is not just remembered, but actively kept alive with every single strike of the hammer. It is where the past is forged into the future, one glowing piece of metal at a time, deep in the heart of the village, where the earth is sun-baked and the air carries the scent of wood smoke. The Mossi blacksmith moves with a quiet deliberation. Every action, from the smallest gesture to the most powerful strike of the hammer, carries a weight that extends far beyond the forge. In his world, knowledge is power, and the most sacred knowledge of all belongs to the smith. It is a world shaped by invisible fences, lines one must never cross, whispers never to be repeated, and tools that hands must not touch without the proper preparation. These are the taboos, the unspoken laws that protect not only the ancient craft, but the entire community. Before his hands even approach the tongs or the bellows, he performs a ritual as old as the iron itself. He approaches a clay basin filled with cool, clear water. As he washes his hands, he murmurs the names of his ancestors, the spirits whose wisdom and strength now inhabit the very metal he is about to shape. This isn't just about cleanliness. The water is a tangible promise, an oath renewed with the rising of each sun. These gestures, passed down through countless generations, are the invisible threads that bind the blacksmith, his community, and the ancestors into a seamless, harmonious whole. Words, too, are governed by this same careful discipline. The blacksmith speaks little of his methods. The secrets of the forge, the precise recipes for alloys, the ancient rhythms of hammer and fire, the subtle signs that distinguish a sacred, protective amulet from a simple farming blade are guarded fiercely. They are passed only to those who have proven their worth, who have earned an unbreakable trust. An oath of silence acts as a powerful shield, because one careless word, one moment of vanity, could endanger a family, a village, even an entire lineage. He recites these oaths quietly, feeling their resonance echo in his chest and palms. Each oath is a profound reminder. True mastery is inseparable from responsibility. Every strike of the hammer is measured. Every fold of the iron is deliberate. Every ember is tended with unwavering intention. Here, in the transformative heat of the fire, the taboo becomes a living law, shaping not just the material world, but the moral one as well. Let's just pause here for a moment. Feel the glow of the forge as it warms the earth around him. Outside, the wind moves with a lazy grace through the tall, dry grasses. There is no sense of hurry in this space. Time isn't measured in hours or minutes, but in the life of sparks and the steady rhythm of a heartbeat. The blacksmith's awareness stretches to fill every moment. In this context, the taboo isn't a restriction. It's a profound form of care. It is care for the iron, care for the self, and care for all the lives that rely upon his skill and integrity. Every tool in the forge carries a history, a story etched into its form and function. The bellows are not merely a device for blowing air. They are instruments of discipline, teaching the smith about breath, rhythm, and control. Striking the hot iron is not just labor. It is an act of obedience to an invisible order, a cosmic law that governs both life and craft. From the edge of the compound, children watch with wide, curious eyes. They are not just seeing a man at work. They are learning that every taboo holds a story, and every oath is a map leading toward a life of responsibility. When the blacksmith pauses, holding the glowing blade, he silently reviews the invisible rules that govern his work. Sweat beads on his brow, and his eyes are lowered in a moment of deep contemplation. It is a constant reminder that respect and integrity are just as essential to his craft as technical skill. To break a taboo is not just a personal dishonor. It is a grave risk. It is to disrespect the invisible guardians, the ancestral spirits, and to tear at the unseen fabric that holds the entire village together. The day moves slowly, measured by the steady, rhythmic beat of the hammer. Each strike, each precise movement is a reaffirmation of this profound discipline. The blacksmith understands that his forge is a school. The fire is his greatest teacher, and the iron is a sacred student willing to be transformed. The oaths and taboos are not burdens to be carried, they are lifelines. They guide his hands and his heart, ensuring continuity, protection, and a deep moral balance that resonates throughout the community. By late morning, the rhythm of labor continues, unwavering and strong. The blacksmith knows that the well-being of his community rests, in part, on his shoulders, on his vigilance. He understands that the smallest breach of protocol, the tiniest crack in his discipline, could send ripples of discord outward, disrupting the harmony he works so hard to maintain. And so, every movement becomes a pledge. Every spark that flies from the anvil is a sign, a confirmation that the invisible guardians remain honored, present, and watchful. In this sacred space, suspended between the intense heat and the unyielding metal, the Mossi blacksmith exists as both a craftsman and a moral compass for his people. Each day, every single choice he makes is a meditation on restraint, on respect, and on the sacred, living weight of tradition. He is more than a maker of tools. He is a keeper of balance, a guardian of the ancient ways, and a vital link in the unbroken chain that connects the past, the present, and the future. In the heart of Burkina Faso, among the Mossi people, the blacksmith's hands hold more than just iron. They grasp the very cycles of life and death. In the quiet, rhythmic pulse of the forge, he is not merely a craftsman of metal, but a guardian of beginnings and endings, a custodian of passage and protection. Every strike of his hammer echoes the heartbeat of his community, and each ember that glows in the forge is a flicker of an ancestral presence watching over them. When a child is born into the community, the blacksmith is called. It is a moment of profound significance. A fire is lit with meticulous care, not just for warmth, but for ritual. Iron tools, symbols of strength and resilience, are placed near the newborn, a symbolic shield against the unseen. Offerings are made, perhaps a handful of millet, a touch of shea butter, or a single drop of libation poured onto the earth. These are humble gifts to honor the spirits of the ancestors, those who watch over both life and the sacred craft of the forge. In these moments, the smithy transforms into a sacred chamber, and the hammer becomes a conductor of blessings, channeling ancestral goodwill to the new life. Imagine this scene: the blacksmith at dawn, a small, gentle fire crackling before a newborn nestled in a woven basket. Clay bowls with offerings sit nearby, and smoke rises softly, carrying prayers to the heavens as family members stand in respectful silence, observing these ancient gestures. But the blacksmith's role extends far beyond birth. In times of illness, when a shadow falls over a family, he is summoned once more. He approaches the afflicted with a deep reverence, his craft and his spiritual duty intertwined. With focused intent, he hammers small pieces of iron into charms, whispering prayers into the cooling metal. Each amulet he creates is more than just an object. It carries the weight of ancestral guidance, a tangible piece of hope forged in fire and faith. The villagers watch in quiet awe, understanding that the blacksmith's labor isn't just about shaping metal, it's about shaping fate, about bending the course of destiny back toward health and harmony. And when a life concludes, every funeral echoes with this same profound care. The iron that once symbolized work, sustenance, and protection now becomes a medium for passage into the next world. Tools are placed beside the deceased, and small fires are lit in patterns dictated by tradition, lighting the way for the spirit's journey. Through these solemn acts, the blacksmith mediates between the world of the living and the realm of dust, ensuring the community remains in balance with the ancestors and the land that sustains them. His forge, a place of creation, also becomes a gateway for departure, a place where the final chapter is written with dignity and respect. Let's pause for a moment and just listen. The forge crackles, a gentle, constant sound. The air is thick with the scent of incense, earth, and hot metal. Outside, the wind carries the smell of dust and the promise of distant rain. In this space, time itself seems to bend. It's not measured in hours or minutes, but in ritual. Every ember is a heartbeat, every spark a prayer sent aloft. This is the world of the Mossi blacksmith, a place where the physical and the spiritual are one. Here, we might see him crafting a small iron amulet, his face illuminated by the glowing forge. He is surrounded by ceremonial objects, clay bowls filled with millet, carved wooden figures representing the ancestors. Smoke curls upward, catching the sunlight that streams through a narrow window in the mud brick wall. Every movement is deliberate, every action imbued with meaning. This isn't just metalwork. It's a conversation with the invisible world, a negotiation for protection and well-being on behalf of his people. The blacksmith knows that the power of the amulet comes not just from the iron, but from the intention, the prayers, and the ancestral energy channeled through his hands. This sacred responsibility is a legacy passed down through generations. When the blacksmith teaches his apprentices, he imparts more than just the physical motions of the hammer and the anvil. He teaches them the weight of their role as guardians. His words are careful and measured, lessons on restraint, on respect for the materials, and on acknowledging the invisible guardians who watch over both the craft and the community. The core lesson is this: to create is to protect. To hammer is to mediate. To fold iron is to fold life itself into a state of balance and harmony. This sense of guardianship permeates even the most routine tasks. When a plowshare is prepared for the fields, it's not just a tool being sharpened. The smith reflects on the life it will sustain, the harvest it will help bring forth. When a hoe is forged for sowing millet, he knows that this simple piece of iron will nourish families, strengthen the village, and preserve the community for another season. Through these seemingly mundane acts, the blacksmith binds himself to a vast web of responsibility that stretches across generations, connecting the past, the present, and the future. We can picture him now, showing an apprentice how to hammer a ceremonial charm. The fire glows warmly between them, and on the mud walls, ancestral symbols are painted. Silent witnesses to this transfer of knowledge. In the background, children observe with respectful curiosity the setting sun casting long shadows across the courtyard. They are learning, even from a distance, about the traditions that hold their world together. They see that the forge is not just a workshop, but the very heart of their community's spiritual life. By late afternoon, the smithy is alive with this silent guardianship. Every piece of iron, whether a tool, a weapon, or a charm, carries more than its physical weight. It carries the memory of ancestors, the trust of the living, and the promise of future generations. The blacksmith stands at the center of it all, a quiet mediator between worlds. His labor is a form of prayer. His hands, the living link between the temporal and the eternal. He doesn't just make things, he maintains the delicate balance that allows his community to thrive. Through the transformative power of fire and iron, through ritual and repetition, the Mossi blacksmith continues an ancient and sacred lineage. He is a guardian of transformation, a bridge between the seen and the unseen, and a keeper of the sacred balance that sustains both his craft and his community. In his rhythmic, tireless work, we see not just the creation of objects, but the perpetuation of a culture, a faith, and a way of life that has endured for centuries, all centered around the elemental dance of hammer and fire. In the heart of the Mossi lands, where tradition is breathed like the very air, stands a figure of immense importance. He is the blacksmith. But to think of him as merely a shaper of iron is to miss the soul of his craft. He doesn't just shape metal, he shapes the courage and the honor of his entire people. Here, in the fiery glow of the forge, more than just tools are born. Spears emerge, their points sharp and true. Blades are forged not just with skill, but with deep intention and the wisdom of ancestral guidance. Each weapon that leaves this sacred space is not an inanimate object. It carries with it the pride of the clan, a tangible, physical testament to lineage, to loyalty, and to the sacred, heavy weight of protection. Imagine the scene. Hammers strike a powerful, rhythmic beat against red-hot iron. The sound echoes the very heartbeat of the community. Sparks, like a sudden swarm of fireflies, scatter across the packed earth floor in the growing dusk. The air is thick with a unique perfume, a blend that is both harsh and holy. The smell of soot, of honest sweat, and of molten metal. It's the scent of creation itself. Nearby, cloaked in the shadows cast by the dancing flames, stand the elders. Their voices are low, a steady, resonant chant. The words they speak are as old as the rolling hills that surround them. A timeless invocation calling upon the ancestors to bless these tools of war and life before they are carried out of the smithy. This is not just manufacturing. This is a ritual, a bridge between the physical and the spiritual world. The blacksmith is the conduit, the one who stands with one foot in the world of men and the other in the world of spirits, ensuring that what he creates is worthy of both. The spear he hammers into existence is not just for a warrior's hand. It is for the defense of a generation, a symbol of the clan's enduring strength. The process is slow, deliberate. Each strike of the hammer is measured, each turn of the metal calculated. It's a dance of fire, steel, and human will, guided by generations of accumulated knowledge. The blacksmith's eyes, accustomed to the searing light, see not just a piece of glowing iron, but the potential within it, the potential to protect a family, to secure a harvest, to uphold the honor of the Mossi people. And it's not only weapons of offense that are born here. Shields, the guardians of a warrior's life, are also carved and tempered in this sacred space. Their surfaces are not left plain. They are intricately patterned with symbols of protection, of bravery, and of divine courage. Each notch, each gentle curve, is entirely deliberate. Nothing is accidental. You can read the history of a clan in the design's story of its triumphs, its moments of despair, and its trials, all encoded into the tough hide, wood, and iron. It is a visual language, understood by all. And watching this entire process, often in complete silence, are the young warriors. They are not just learning the form of these tools, how to hold a spear or brace a shield. They are absorbing the significance, the deep cultural meaning of the objects they will one day wield in defense of their community. They learn that to carry these items is to carry a responsibility, a legacy. The blacksmith's role extends far beyond the physical act of creation. He is a keeper of morale, a custodian of the community's spirit. The strength and reliability of a weapon forged in his fire are seen as a direct reflection of the stability and harmony of the community itself. Think about that. A blade that is unbalanced, that doesn't feel right in the hand, is not only a danger to its wielder in the chaos of battle, but it is also seen as a dark omen, a sign of disharmony within the clan. For the Mossi, iron is not dead matter. It is a living substance, imbued with spirit and energy. And so, the care and reverence the blacksmith shows for his work are considered sacred duties. He is not just making a tool, he is nurturing a life force that will go on to serve his people. Let's just pause for a moment. Can you hear it? The forge crackles gently, a constant, living sound. The shadows it casts dance along the mud brick walls, making familiar shapes seem mysterious and new. Outside, if you listen closely, the wind whispers through, carrying the earthy scent of distant millet fields and the cool air of the coming night. In this quiet moment, every single strike of the hammer feels like a heartbeat. Every glowing ember that falls to the floor is like a whispered prayer. A prayer for courage, for honor, and for the simple, profound act of survival. This is the atmosphere in which the Mossi identity is forged, literally and figuratively. It is a place of intense focus, but also of profound peace. The blacksmith is an artist, a priest, and a philosopher, all at once. When a young warrior receives his first spear, it's a momentous occasion. He might inspect the newly forged weapon, feeling its weight, its perfect balance. The blacksmith, his hands and face smudged with the honorable soot of his trade, might stand behind him, a quiet, reassuring presence. The evening sun filters through the low doorways of the mud brick structure, casting long, warm shafts of light into the ceremonial space, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. This isn't a simple transaction. It's a transfer of power, of responsibility, of trust. The blacksmith has poured his skill and spirit into the weapon, and now the warrior must carry it with the same level of integrity and respect. It is a pact sealed not with words, but with a shared understanding of duty and heritage. The forge produces tools for all aspects of life and death. Knives and daggers are made not just for the grim reality of battle, but for essential daily tasks and sacred ceremonies. At these times, when crafting an object that will be used in a ritual, the smith will pause his physical labor to speak blessings over the metal. His words are woven into the very rhythm of his work, flowing in time with the clang of the hammer and the hiss of the tongs. He imparts strength, protection, and ancestral memory into the blade with his voice as much as with his hands. To hold one of these tools, therefore, is to hold a direct connection to a lineage of responsibility. It is a pact between the living and the unseen world of the ancestors. A constant reminder that one does not act alone, but as part of a great, unbroken chain. The blacksmith understands a fundamental truth that transcends cultures. In war or in any great struggle, a tool is only as good as the spirit it carries. A technically perfect sword is useless if the warrior who wields it has a heart full of fear. So, each piece he creates is offered quietly and respectfully to the community. Sometimes this happens in a formal ritual, with the whole village watching. Other times, it's simpler whispered word for the unseen guardians. A quiet moment of dedication before the weapon is handed over. In this way, the forge is transformed. It ceases to be merely a workshop. It becomes a sacred arena, a hallowed ground where culture, courage, and craft intersect in the most powerful way imaginable. It is where the material and the metaphysical are hammered together, becoming one. Look closer at the moment a finished piece is presented. A newly forged sword, gleaming and potent, is placed upon a ceremonial stand. The elders, who have witnessed this rite countless times, might bow their heads slightly, a gesture of deep respect, not just for the blacksmith, but for the tradition he upholds. And in the distance, you can see the children of the village. They watch from afar, their eyes wide with awe. They are learning, absorbing the reverence their elders show for craft and for ancestry. They are learning that the strength of their people comes not just from force, but from this deep well of shared values and spiritual conviction. This is how a culture perpetuates itself through these quiet, powerful moments of shared reverence. The children see the blacksmith not as a simple laborer, but as a pillar of their society. And so, through every brilliant spark that flies into the darkness, through every rhythmic, percussive strike, and through every carefully tempered curve of steel, the Mossi blacksmith ensures that his clan's honor will ride into battle alongside its warriors. His tireless labor shapes more than just iron. It shapes identity. It binds each warrior, each man, woman, and child to the stories of their past and the destiny of their future. In the heat of the fire and the swirling smoke of the forge, the Mossi blacksmith stands as both a masterful craftsman and a solemn custodian. He is a quiet, unassuming guardian of his community's collective power and its enduring spiritual strength. His work is a testament to the idea that the soul of a people can be found in the hands of those who create. In the heart of the Mossi lands, where the sun rises in a blaze of gold and red, life is forged in fire and earth. Here, the blacksmith is not just a craftsman, he is the guardian of sustenance, the keeper of an ancient rhythm that dictates the very pulse of the village. Long before the first rooster crows, before the heat of the day settles over the savannah, his forge is already alive, breathing smoke and embers. This is where the story of survival begins. The Mossi blacksmith's hands, strong and calloused, are instruments of creation. They shape not only weapons to defend the community, but, more importantly, the tools that feed it. In the quiet morning, as the world awakens, he tempers, plows, hoes, and sickles. Each piece of iron is as vital to the life of his people as the soil itself. It's a sacred duty, a dance between muscle, metal, and fire. Every curve of the iron, every resonant strike of the hammer against the anvil is a hymn to the coming harvest, a whispered prayer for growth, and a solemn promise of continuity passed down through generations. From the shaded courtyard, the village watchers, fathers, mothers, and wide-eyed children gather, not just as spectators, but as students. They are learning the rhythm of labor, the language of the forge. The blacksmith's work mirrors the life of the village. It is steady, deliberate, and deeply purposeful. He strikes, he cools, he folds a repetitive, hypnotic motion. This cycle continues until the tool becomes more than just shaped iron. It is infused with the spirit of the craftsman, imbued with his patience, his endurance, and the silent blessing of his ancestors who worked this same fire. The forge is a crucible, not just for metal, but for the community's hopes. The air is thick with the scent of hot iron and burning charcoal. Smoke curls upward, mingling with the red earth dust that floats in the warm morning light. Inside this humble workshop, the blacksmith crafts a plowshare. His focus is absolute. He knows that in these fields, iron is life. A poorly tempered hoe, one that is too brittle, will shatter at the first stubborn root. A sickle that is too soft will dull and falter long before the harvest is gathered. The weight of his entire community rests on the integrity of his work. Each tool he forges carries the responsibility of a family's survival through the lean season. The sound of his hammer striking the anvil echoes across the village, a clear, powerful signal that the time for preparation has come. It is the sound of planting, of tending, and of gathering. It is the sound of life. Through this intense and focused labor, a profound respect is cultivated within the community. It's a respect for the craft itself, for the transformative power of the forge. It's a respect for the soil, the generous but demanding earth that gives life. And it is a respect for the invisible guardians, the ancestral spirits who are believed to watch over both the blacksmith and the farmer, protecting their sacred bond. The blacksmith, in this sense, is more than just a maker of things. He is an unseen partner in every prayer for rain, a silent participant in the planting of every seed, and a foundational presence in every meal that will grace the tables of the village. His work ensures that the cycle of life can continue unbroken. Let's just pause here for a moment and take in this scene. The forge breathes with a raw, primal energy, a fusion of intense heat and billowing smoke. But just outside, a different kind of life unfolds. The vast millet fields shimmer under the early morning sun, their green shoots a testament to past labors and a promise of future abundance. The rhythm of the hammer on iron, that steady, unyielding beat, becomes the heartbeat of the village. It's a sound that carries the echoes of ancestral wisdom, the practical knowledge of metallurgy passed down through countless generations. At the same time, it's the living pulse of everyday life, a constant reminder of the work that must be done today to secure tomorrow. As the seasons turn and harvest time approaches, the true importance of the blacksmith's tools becomes powerfully clear. The women and children of the village gather to inspect the new hoes and sickles. They run their fingers over the sharpened edges, testing the balance and weight. They handle them with a care that borders on reverence, laying them carefully beside the fields of ripening millet. The blacksmith stands nearby, his hands still blackened from his work, watching this quiet ceremony. He knows that a plowshare is not just a wedge of metal designed to break the earth. In the Mossi worldview, it is the sacred channel through which the blessings of the ancestors flow into the soil, awakening its fertility. As he works, the blacksmith often whispers softly, offering the tool to the unseen world. It is a silent prayer for abundance, for a bountiful harvest, and for the continued survival and prosperity of his village. The entire process is a ritual, both deeply practical and profoundly spiritual. The rhythm of his hammer, the controlled cadence of his breath as he works the bellows, and the mesmerizing glow of the forge all unite in a symphony of creation. Each tool that leaves his workshop is not just an object. It is imbued with a spirit. It is carried into the fields with reverence, as if it carries a piece of the blacksmith himself, his strength, his focus, and his blessing. This belief ensures that labor and life, the physical and the spiritual, remain inseparable. The act of farming is not mere toil. It is a sacred collaboration between the farmer, the tool, the earth, and the spiritual world. At the break of dawn, the forge is a beacon of light and life. Smoke and fire billow from its opening, mingling with the golden rays of the rising sun. This is the moment of transfer. The blacksmith hands the freshly forged ploughs to the farmers. Their hands meet, one blackened with soot, the other calloused from the soil. It's a symbolic exchange, a partnership sealed. In the courtyard, children, already learning their future roles, run with small, custom-made sickles, their laughter echoing in the morning air. They are part of this cycle, learning from the youngest age that survival is a collective effort. The forge is the heart, and its lifeblood, the tools now flows out into the fields, the veins of the community. Through the medium of iron, the Mossi blacksmith literally shapes the landscape of survival. The fate of the crops, the struggle against hunger, and life itself are all intertwined with the quality of his labor. When a farmer drives a plowshare into the earth, it is the blacksmith's skill that allows the soil to be turned. When a woman swings a hoe to clear weeds, it is his craftsmanship that makes her labor efficient. In every field, in every act of cultivation, the sound of iron striking iron back in the forge resonates as an invisible hymn. It is a song of continuity, a melody of endurance. It is the sacred and unbreakable bond between human hands, the tools they create, and the earth they cultivate. This is the enduring legacy of the Mossi blacksmith, a legacy written not in words, but in the iron that feeds a nation. In the heart of West Africa, within the vibrant communities of the Mossi people, lives a figure whose importance transcends the simple act of shaping metal. This is the story of the Mossi blacksmith, a master craftsman who does more than just forge tools for war or for the harvest. He forges influence, respect, and the invisible chains that hold entire communities together. His workshop, the forge, is not just a place of labor. It is a center of power, a place of mediation, and a sanctuary of tradition. Imagine a royal court, not in a grand stone castle, but in a sun-drenched courtyard surrounded by earthen walls. The air is thick with anticipation. A chief, adorned in ceremonial robes, sits with his council. Stepping forward is not a warrior or a politician, but the blacksmith. The usual clang of his hammer is replaced by the soft cadence of measured words, his movements deliberate, his gaze observant. To an outsider, he might appear as a simple artisan presenting his work. But to everyone here, to the initiated, he is far more. He is a custodian of secrets, a guardian of traditions, and a conduit for spiritual guidance. His hands don't just shape iron, they shape the destiny of the people who rely on it. When chiefs call upon him, the blacksmith enters a realm of ceremonial authority. He might be presenting a newly forged sword, its blade gleaming with a light that seems to hold the sun itself. As he offers it, the courtiers bow subtly, not just to the chief, but in acknowledgement of the sacred power imbued in the object and the man who created it. The onlookers watch in respectful silence, understanding that they are witnessing more than a transaction. They are part of a ritual that reinforces the very structure of their society. The blacksmith's counsel carries immense weight because he understands the deep, intricate web connecting labor, law, and legacy. He knows that a community's strength lies not just in its warriors, but in the integrity of the tools they carry and the spirit of the hands that made them. In moments of conflict or critical deliberation, the blacksmith's unique insight is sought. When a dispute arises or a difficult decision must be made, the village elders might turn to him. He doesn't just offer opinions based on worldly knowledge. He interprets omens, reading messages in the glow of the forge. The shifting colors of molten metal, or the percussive song of his hammer striking the anvil. These are not superstitions. They are a form of deep listening, a way of connecting with the elemental forces of creation. The chiefs and elders respect his judgment because it is rooted in something more profound than words alone. It's grounded in the sacred patterns of his craft, a knowledge passed down through generations, and in the memory of the ancestors who first breathed life into iron. He is a mediator, his wisdom tempered by fire, his perspective forged in the heart of the community's most essential work. This prestige isn't confined to the royal court or the council of elders. It's visible in the rhythms of everyday life. Walk through any Mossi village and you will see the blacksmith's influence. The farmer, tilling the soil, uses a hoe crafted by his hands. The hunter, venturing into the bush, carries a spear he forged. The woman, preparing the daily meal, uses a knife he sharpened. These are not just functional instruments. They are symbols of connection, each one a testament to the authority of both the maker and the one who wields it. They represent a pact of trust between the craftsman and the community. To disrespect a tool, to leave it to rust, or to use it carelessly is to disrespect the lineage of the blacksmith and, by extension, the social and spiritual order of the village. Let's pause and soak in this atmosphere. Picture the courtyard, now quiet. The forge's intense heat has long since cooled, but its presence lingers. It's in the polished edge of a ceremonial axe hanging on a wall, in the weight of a bracelet worn by an elder, in the carefully handled implements that sustain the village. Here, the blacksmith's prestige isn't announced with trumpets or declarations. It's a quiet, pervasive force, woven into the fabric of daily existence, into the cadence of ritual, and into the shared weight of responsibility borne by all who touch his creations. His power is subtle but absolute, as fundamental as the earth and as enduring as the iron he commands. Think of the blacksmith advising a council of elders. He's not just talking, he's demonstrating. He might point to a finely forged spear, explaining how its balance and strength reflect the balance and strength needed in the community. The village youth, watching from a respectful distance, are not just seeing a lesson in metallurgy. They are learning about leadership, responsibility, and the interconnectedness of their world. The sunlit courtyard, the mud-walled buildings, the attentive faces it, all paints a picture of a society where wisdom is valued in all its forms, where the practical and the spiritual are one and the same. This dual role is the key to understanding the balance of power in Mossi society. The blacksmith's knowledge of metallurgy, science that can seem like magic, grants him undeniable authority. He can turn rock into tools or into weapons. But it is his deep understanding of ritual, custom, and the ancestral voice that cements his prestige. He knows the prayers to say before lighting the forge, the offerings to make for a successful smelting, and the stories embedded in the designs he hammers into the metal. Chiefs and farmers, warriors and healers, they all rely on him. In this profound trust, he becomes a living bridge, connecting the physical world of craft with the spiritual world of governance and sacred duty. He ensures that power remains grounded, responsible, and tied to the well-being of the people. Through every season and every cycle of life, the Mossi blacksmith embodies a principle that is older than written history, that power without care is hollow, and prestige without responsibility is fleeting. His legacy is not written in books. It is hammered into iron. It is whispered in prayers over the glowing coals. And it is remembered in the seamless continuity of both tools and tradition. When a festival is held, he is an honored guest. Imagine an evening scene. The village gathered around a ceremonial fire. The blacksmith is celebrated, not as a mere worker, but as a pillar of the community. The tools he has made, hoes, spears, adzes, gleam under the soft lantern light, displayed not just as products of labor, but as objects of reverence. The children and elders watch in awe, understanding that his work is what allows them to eat, to build, to defend themselves, and to honor their ancestors. With his hands, the blacksmith literally holds the pulse of his people. In times of war, his forge burns brightest, producing the weapons that protect the community. In times of harvest, his creations are the instruments of abundance and prosperity. In times of judgment, his wisdom helps guide the leaders to fair decisions. And in times of ritual, his sacred objects connect the living with the world of the spirits. For the Mossi, prestige and power are inseparable from the sacred rhythm of creation, and in every single strike of the hammer upon the anvil, in every shower of sparks that lights up the darkness of the forge, the blacksmith affirms both lineage and life, connecting the past, the present, and the future in a single, powerful act. He is more than a maker of things. He is a maker of worlds. In the heart of Burkina Faso, where the sun rises over clay walls, a day at the Mossi smithy begins not with a clang, but with a whisper. The first light of dawn spills into the workshop, illuminating dust motes dancing in the cool morning air. Here, in this sacred space, a master blacksmith prepares to shape more than just iron. He is here to forge a mind, to pass on a legacy that stretches back through countless generations. An apprentice stands by, his posture one of humble anticipation. His eyes are wide, absorbing every detail. His hands, though empty, are poised and eager, ready to learn. He already understands a fundamental truth of this ancient craft. Mastery is not found in speed or brute force, but in rhythm, in patient observation, and in the profound silence that hangs between the strikes of the hammer. By the side of the glowing forge, learning begins with the simple act of watching. It's a dance of imitation, a silent conversation between master and student. Every lift and fall of the hammer, every careful fold of the heated metal, every measured blow upon the anvil carries with it the memory of fathers and sons, of elders and initiates. In these early stages, the master blacksmith speaks very little. Words are secondary. He trusts the apprentice to feel the pulse of the fire, to learn the hard lesson of patience, and to discern the subtle shifts in color and texture as the raw ore transforms under heat and pressure. Through this constant, mindful repetition, the novice absorbs lessons that go far beyond mere technical skill. He learns a deep and abiding respect for the tools that become extensions of his own hands. Respect for the transformative power of the fire, and respect for the unseen ancestors whose blessings are believed to inhabit every finished piece. When a mistake is made, as it inevitably is, the correction is gentle, a quiet guidance rather than a harsh rebuke. Pride, the enemy of true craftsmanship, is tempered by the daily practice of humility. In this quiet communion, the apprentice comes to a profound realization. Blacksmithing is as much a spiritual and moral discipline as it is a physical act of shaping iron. It's about shaping oneself, about forging character with the same care and attention one gives to the glowing metal on the anvil. Every lesson is woven into a story, and each precise motion is like a verse in an epic poem passed down through time. The master doesn't just impart technique, he shares the philosophy of the craft. He teaches that the forge is a mirror, reflecting the heart and soul of the smith. The hammer is a tongue, speaking a language of creation that transcends words. And the iron itself is a bridge, connecting the mortal world of the living with the sacred realm of the spirits and ancestors. Here, in the heat and sweat of the smithy, manual labor is elevated to a form of prayer. The act of learning becomes a sacred initiation, a formal entry into the unbroken lineage of Mossi artisans. Let's pause for a moment and just listen. The rhythmic, percussive clang of hammer against anvil, which has filled the air, now fades into a moment of stillness. Outside the workshop, the sounds of the village waking up can be heard, the calls of birds, heralding the new day. But inside, a young hand, guided by the memory of what it has seen, begins to echo the movements of generations past, tracing lines that are invisible yet potent with the weight of their legacy. As days bleed into weeks and weeks stretch into months, the apprentice internalizes the quiet, focused discipline of the forge. He discovers that raw strength and speed are secondary to a more crucial skill, attentiveness. It's about listening to the subtle whisper of the metal as it cools and contracts, understanding the language it speaks as it hardens. It's about learning to read the rhythm of the fire, to know its moods and its needs as if it were a living heartbeat. This is the essence of the sacred education happening here. He learns that each piece of iron has its own spirit, its own will. The task of the blacksmith is not to dominate the metal, but to coax it, to persuade it, to work in harmony with it. He learns to see the final form, the hoe, the blade, the ceremonial object hidden within the raw block of ore, and to patiently work until that form is revealed. It's a partnership between human, fire, and iron, a trinity of creation. The relationship between master and apprentice deepens over time. It moves beyond simple instruction into a bond of mentorship and kinship. The master sees in his apprentice not just a student, but the future of their craft. He sees a link in the chain that must not be broken. The apprentice, in turn, sees in his master not just a teacher, but a guardian of ancestral knowledge, a living library of stories, techniques, and wisdom. This process is not confined to the daylight hours. As evening descends and the forge's fire dies down to a soft, warm glow, another form of learning begins. The tools are laid carefully aside, cleaned and respected for their service. Master and apprentice sit together by the embers, the day's labor complete. This is the time for stories. The master speaks of the great blacksmiths of the past, their legendary skills, their wisdom, and their connection to the spiritual world. He shares tales of ancestors, of the origins of their people, and of the vital role the blacksmith has always played within the Mossi community. Not just as a craftsman, but as a healer, a mediator, and a figure of great spiritual power. The glowing embers cast long shadows around them, creating an atmosphere of reverence and intimacy. In these quiet moments, the apprentice learns the why behind the how. He understands that the patterns etched into a blade are not merely decorative, but carry symbolic meaning. He learns that a well-made farming tool is not just an object of utility, but a blessing upon the earth it will till. He connects his daily work at the anvil to the larger cosmos of his culture, his community, and his spiritual beliefs. The journey is long. Years will pass before the apprentice is deemed ready to be called a master himself. He must demonstrate not only technical proficiency, but also the moral integrity and spiritual maturity required of a Mossi blacksmith. He must prove that he is a worthy custodian of the fire, capable of passing it on to the next generation. This sacred education ensures that the continuity of Mossi blacksmithing endures. It is a tradition that has weathered colonialism, modernization, and the passage of centuries. Precisely because it is more than just a set of skills. It is a way of life, a philosophy, a spiritual path, forged in fire and passed on, one patient hammer stroke at a time. The legacy lives not in a textbook, but in the hands, heart, and mind of the apprentice, ready to one day become the master. The day begins slowly at the smithy. The first light of dawn gently touches the clay walls, and the coolness of the morning still lingers in the air. This is the realm of the Mossi blacksmith, a master who forges not only iron but also the minds of the next generation. Here, an apprentice waits humbly, his eyes wide with anticipation. His hands are empty for now, yet they are eager to learn, to feel, to create. He understands, even without words, that the path to mastery isn't about speed. It's about rhythm, about silence, and most importantly, about observation. By the side of the forge, learning is a dance of imitation. The apprentice watches the master, his gaze fixed on every movement, every strike of the hammer, every careful fold of the glowing metal, every measured blow. It's a language passed down through generations. These motions carry the memory and wisdom from father to son, from elder to initiate. In these early stages, the master blacksmith rarely speaks. His silence is a lesson in itself. He trusts the apprentice to feel the heartbeat of the fire, to learn the profound virtue of patience, and to notice the subtle, magical changes in the color and texture of the ore as it surrenders to the heat. Through this constant, patient repetition, the novice absorbs much more than just a skill. He learns a deep and abiding respect. Respect for the tools that become an extension of his hands. Respect for the fire, the lifeblood of the forge, and respect for the unseen ancestors whose blessings are believed to sanctify every piece of iron shaped within these walls. When mistakes happen, as they inevitably do, they are corrected not with harsh words but with gentle guidance. Any flicker of pride is quickly tempered by a lesson in humility. This quiet communion between master and apprentice is a sacred space. It's here that the young learner comes to understand a fundamental truth. Blacksmithing is as much a moral and spiritual discipline as it is the art of shaping iron. Every lesson is a story, and each precise motion is a verse in a long, unfolding poem. The master imparts not just technique, but the very philosophy of the craft. He teaches that the forge is a mirror, reflecting the soul of the smith. The hammer is a tongue, speaking a language of creation. And the iron itself is a bridge, connecting the mortal world with the sacred. In this hallowed space, labor transforms into a form of prayer, and the process of learning becomes an initiation, a formal entry into the esteemed lineage of Mossi artisans. Let's pause for a moment and listen. The rhythmic clang of hammer against anvil, a sound that has defined this space for generations, slowly fades into a profound stillness. Outside, the world awakens. Birds chirp their morning songs, heralding the new day. But inside, a young hand begins to move, echoing the timeless movements of generations past. He is tracing lines in the air, lines that are invisible to the eye but are potent and heavy with the weight of legacy. As the days turn into months and the months stretch into years, the apprentice internalizes the quiet discipline of the forge. It becomes a part of him, shaping his character as surely as he shapes the iron. He learns that brute strength and hurried speed are secondary. What truly matters is attentiveness, the ability to listen to the soft whisper of the metal as it cools, to understand the rhythm of the fire as if it were his own heartbeat. This is not just a trade school, it's a sacred education. Through this patient, devoted process, the continuity of Mossi blacksmithing endures, one deliberate hammer stroke at a time. The sun climbs higher in the sky, and the morning's coolness gives way to the intense, radiating heat of the forge. The apprentice, now more confident, takes his place at the anvil. His movements are still hesitant compared to the master's fluid grace, but there is a newfound purpose in them. He lifts the hammer, feeling its familiar weight. He has learned to read the fire, to know the exact moment when the iron is ready, when it glows with the color of the setting sun. This is the moment of transformation. The master stands nearby, his presence a silent source of encouragement and correction. He observes, his experienced eyes catching every detail, from the angle of the hammer to the posture of the apprentice. There is a dialogue happening here, a conversation without words. The iron speaks through its color and malleability. The hammer responds with force and precision. The apprentice is the interpreter mediating this intense exchange. He learns to anticipate the metal's response, to guide it rather than force it. A misplaced blow can introduce a flaw. A moment of inattention can ruin hours of work. But, under the master's watchful eye, each attempt is a step forward. The smithy is filled with the sounds of their shared work, the roar of the bellows, the hiss of hot metal plunged into water, and the constant, ringing percussion of their hammers. This symphony of sounds is the music of creation, a testament to the enduring power of this ancient craft. As the day progresses, the lessons become more complex. The master begins to introduce new techniques, drawing out the metal to make it longer, upsetting it to make it thicker, forge welding two pieces into one. Each technique requires a different rhythm, a different kind of touch. The apprentice struggles at first. His hands, still learning, feel clumsy, but he persists, fueled by a desire to honor his teacher and the tradition he represents. The master demonstrates again and again, his movements economical and precise. He shares anecdotes of his own apprenticeship, of the challenges he faced and the lessons he learned. These stories are not just tales, they are living history, connecting the young apprentice to a long chain of artisans who came before him. The community, too, plays a role in this education. Elders often stop by the smithy, their faces etched with the wisdom of years. They watch the young apprentice work, offering words of encouragement or quiet nods of approval. Their presence is a reminder that this craft is not practiced in isolation. It is a vital part of the community's life, providing the tools that till the soil, the weapons that protect the village, and the ceremonial objects that connect the people to their heritage. The apprentice feels the weight of this responsibility, and it strengthens his resolve. He is not just learning a trade. He is preparing to serve his people, to become a keeper of the flame for the next generation. As evening approaches, the fierce heat of the day begins to subside. The work slows down. The tools are carefully cleaned and laid aside, each in its proper place. The forge, which blazed with such intensity all day, is now a bed of glowing embers. In the soft, warm light, the master and apprentice sit together. The day's labor is done, but the learning continues. This is the time for stories, for sharing the oral history of their people and their craft. The master speaks of the first blacksmiths, figures of legend who were said to have received their knowledge directly from the spirits. He recounts the histories of the great smiths of the past, whose names are still spoken with reverence. These stories are the soul of the craft. They teach the apprentice that the iron he shapes is imbued with meaning, that it carries the stories of his ancestors. He learns about the sacred role of the blacksmith in Mossi society, as a healer, a mediator, and a guardian of tradition. The glowing embers of the fire cast long shadows on the walls, and in this intimate setting, the bond between master and apprentice deepens. It is a relationship built on trust, respect, and a shared passion for their art. The apprentice listens, his heart full, understanding that he is part of something much larger than himself. He is a link in a chain, and it is now his duty to keep that chain strong and unbroken. The night is quiet, the embers glow softly, and the legacy of the Mossi blacksmiths is safely passed into the hands of the future. In the heart of Burkina Faso, amidst the hum of modern life, a different kind of rhythm persists. It's the steady, resonant beat of a hammer striking an anvil, a sound that has echoed through Mossi villages for centuries. This is the world of the Mossi blacksmiths, where fire and iron aren't just elements of a craft, but the very soul of a culture. Today, we're journeying into this incredible living legacy, a tradition that forges not just metal, but identity, community, and a powerful connection to the past. Even as bustling markets fill with imported goods and factories rise on the horizon, the forge endures. Its flame is a living bridge, connecting the present day to a deep and storied history. Step into any smithy and you'll see it's more than a workshop. It's a classroom, a sanctuary, and the heart of the community. Here, young apprentices gather, their eyes fixed on the master smiths. They learn under the watchful guidance of their elders, discovering that each powerful strike of the hammer is about so much more than just shaping a piece of metal. It's about shaping one's character, about forging a link in a chain of tradition that stretches back to the ancestors whose hands first tamed these very flames. This isn't a dying art. It's a living, breathing practice passed down with reverence. The knowledge is not written in books, but etched into the hands and hearts of the artisans. The apprentices learn the language of the fire, how to read the glowing colors of the iron, and how to coax it into forms both beautiful and useful. They learn that the hammer is an extension of their will, and that with it they are not just creating tools, but upholding a sacred duty. Every piece they create, be it a hoe for the fields or a ceremonial spear, carries a piece of this profound history, a whisper of the generations that came before them. Nowhere is this legacy more vibrantly displayed than during cultural festivals like Nabazga. Imagine the scene. The savannah stretches out under the vast African sky, and the air is alive with the sound of drums and joyous celebration. Amidst the colorful traditional attire of the villagers, the blacksmiths take center stage. They are not just performers, they are custodians of a sacred art. Visitors from near and far gather to witness the magic of iron shaping. The rhythmic hammering isn't just noise, it's a song, an ancestral melody that tells a story of strength, resilience, and ingenuity. Each tool or weapon crafted during these demonstrations is more than just an object. It carries the unique mark of its creator's lineage, a spiritual imprint from the guardians who have watched over this craft for generations. These festivals are not mere spectacles. They are powerful, living lessons in real time. They transmit the core ethics of the Mossi blacksmith: patience, unwavering focus, and a deep reverence for the materials and the spirits that guide their hands. The smoke from the forges curls into the sky like whispers from the ancestors, reminding everyone present, from the youngest child to the oldest elder, that this craft is not just about shaping material. It is a moral, social, and sacred act that binds the community together, beyond the vibrant energy of the festivals. The influence of Mossi blacksmiths permeates the quieter, daily rhythms of life. Their role extends far beyond the forge, weaving into the very fabric of local governance and social cohesion. In many villages, the master smith is a figure of immense respect and authority. When disputes arise between neighbors or when a new community project needs a blessing for success, it's often the master smiths who are consulted by chiefs and village elders. Their wisdom is sought after, their judgment trusted. This authority isn't inherited by birthright. It's earned blow by blow through a lifetime of dedication to their craft. Their impeccable moral guidance and the intangible, spiritual weight of ancestral favor that is believed to rest upon them. The smithy, therefore, becomes a unique and vital intersection. It's a place where the community's most practical, earthly needs, a sharp blade for the harvest, a sturdy hinge for a door meet its deepest spiritual aspirations. The forge is a living testament to the enduring power of metalwork in shaping not just objects, but the very structure and harmony of society itself. This influence isn't just felt in the public square. It resonates within the walls of private homes. Look around a traditional Mossi household and you'll see the blacksmith's touch everywhere. Tools for farming that till the soil and bring forth nourishment, utensils for cooking that prepare the family's meals, and implements for hunting that provide for the community. Each one is imbued with a sense of intention and care that mass-produced items could never replicate. Families understand that these objects are more than just utilitarian. They are vessels carrying the blessings, lessons, and spirit of the generations who created and used them. The art of forging itself teaches profound life lessons that ripple through households and across entire communities. It teaches patience, the discipline to wait for the iron to reach the perfect temperature. It teaches precision, the focus required to strike at the exact right moment. And it teaches the sanctity of labor, the idea that honest, skillful work is a noble and fulfilling pursuit. As the wind carries the distinct scent of smoke and iron through the village, it serves as a constant, gentle reminder that while time moves forward and the world changes, some traditions hold steady, anchoring people in their history and giving them a powerful sense of identity and belonging. In today's rapidly changing Burkina Faso, the Mossi blacksmiths find themselves navigating the delicate tension between tradition and modernity. They are not resistant to change, but are thoughtful guardians of a precious legacy. With immense care, they continue to train their successors, ensuring that the knowledge they hold a unique blend of practical skill, cultural heritage, and spiritual wisdom is not lost to time. This is a deliberate, conscious act of preservation. The master smiths know they are not just teaching someone how to work metal. They are entrusting them with the soul of their people. Even as globalization presses in, bringing with it new technologies and new economic pressures, the forge remains a sacred space. It is a place where hands transform raw iron into objects of purpose and beauty. It is a sanctuary where ancestors are honored and their wisdom is invoked. And it is a cornerstone where communities find continuity and strength amidst the shifting, often uncertain, currents of the modern world. The echoes of the Mossi blacksmiths are not confined to the clang of hammer on anvil. You can hear them in the rhythm of life itself, in the planting and the harvest, in the celebrations and the ceremonies, in the quiet strength of a community bound by a shared, enduring legacy. It's a testament to resilience, a quiet but powerful defiance of being forgotten. In the heart of Burkina Faso, the lives of Mossi blacksmiths have been defined by flame, iron, and a profound devotion. From the first spark at dawn to the soft glow of the evening embers, every motion of the hammer and tongs carries an ancient purpose. It's a meditation of hands, heart, and heritage. Their work is a silent hymn, a song echoing across centuries, bridging the realms of matter and spirit, history and memory. The forge cools slowly as the day ends, its smoke curling upward like prayers offered into a starlit sky. Each wisp is a testament to endurance, a symbol of reverence. For the Mossi blacksmith, this labor was never just about survival or commerce. It was, and still is, an act of faith. It's a ritual that affirms the ties binding families, clans, and ancestors together. Every plowshare, every spear, every ceremonial blade holds more than just metal. It carries the lessons of those who came before, the unspoken ethics of creation, and the blessings of the invisible guardians who watch over their craft and community. Through the relentless heat and repetition, through rhythm and silence. These artisans forged not just objects, but the very fabric of their society. They shaped social cohesion, moral guidance, and spiritual continuity. In their daily lives, apprentices and masters alike learned that the forge is sacred ground. A mistake is never just an error. It's a moment for reflection, an opportunity to realign with ancestral principles. The rhythmic clang of the hammer is the very heartbeat of their civilization, marking both labor and devotion. To witness a Mossi blacksmith at work is to see patience embodied and history carried forward with every single strike. Even as Burkina Faso modernizes and foreign tools and techniques find their way into daily life, the essence of the blacksmith's calling persists. You can see it in the festivals, the bustling markets, and the quiet households that continue to bear witness to the enduring power of these artisans. Their craft teaches a powerful lesson: that survival is intertwined with moral responsibility, that skill is inseparable from reverence, and that labor itself can be a prayer, sung quietly with each fall of the hammer against the anvil. As the last light of day wanes and a hush falls over the village, you can almost hear the ancestors murmuring through the cooling iron and rising smoke, reminding the living of their sacred duty to carry forward the wisdom of the forge. Through this continuum of creation, protection, and transmission, the blacksmith becomes so much more than a craftsman. They are a historian, a mediator, and a guardian of culture. Their life is a story written in sparks and rhythm, in the tactile dialogue between human hands and unyielding metal. Each apprentice who masters the craft ensures that this lineage, these ethics, and the sacred songs of fire and iron will endure far beyond a single lifetime. When we reflect on the Mossi blacksmiths, we see a powerful model of resilience and reverence. The anvil isn't just a tool. It's a sacred point where the human spirit meets elemental force. The flame is not just heat. It is a silent witness to the covenant between past and present. And the hammer is more than just an instrument. It is a voice resonating with centuries of communal memory and cultural identity. The forge is quiet now, but its lessons of dedication, faith, and artistry linger. They settle into the heart like warm embers, a rhythm that will not be forgotten. In the end, the Mossi blacksmith's life is a mirror of life itself, demanding, purposeful, sacred, and enduring. Through fire, iron, and the patient passage of knowledge, they shaped not only tools and weapons, but the very moral and spiritual fabric of their communities. Their hammers sang a quiet song of civilization, their flames a silent prayer of faith. And though the world changes, their essence remains a testament to the profound harmony between labor and spirit, craft and conscience. You are now under the enduring flame of Mossi ingenuity, under the quiet song of the forge, under the wisdom of hands that honor ancestors with every strike. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories from across the continent. We'll see you next time. You are under Baobab Skies.